Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peter Likes Books. And I am doing a little bit of a late night book vlog because I literally, just seconds ago, finished The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. So I wanted to come on here and talk about it for a little bit. I was so profoundly moved by this book. I thought it was appropriate that since it's called The Midnight Library, I thought it was appropriate that I'm trying to find my lip balm over here, do a review of it late at night. It is 3:44 a.m. on Saturday night going into Sunday. This will definitely be one of my top books of 2020, if not my top book of 2020. I was so profoundly affected by this book, and there's so many things to talk about it. I don't want to spoil it. I've talked about it in my last couple videos that I've done on here, and I've talked about it on my vlog. I cannot find my lip balm anywhere. But the book is about this woman named Nora Seed, and I think she's 35 in the book, and nothing is going right in her life, and so she decides to take her life. And I'm giving you kind of the shortened version because I don't want to ruin it for you. And she ends up at this place called the Midnight Library, which is this library that is between kind of like the living and the dead. And she meets this woman there, and I cannot find the lip balm. Here it is that I'm looking for. And at the Midnight Library, there's all these books, and each book represents a different possibility for an outcome of her life. And so she can go into any book that she wants and basically live that life starting right there. Like, everything that happened up to that point has already happened, so she can just pick up and live that life. And then she has to pick the life that she wants to live in. I will say there were times in the book that I kind of knew, like, especially towards the end, I knew the book was going to end the way that it did. But it's the journey of getting to that decision that is so profound. This book, which, I mean, it's not like, you know, like how there are like motivational books that are kind of told within a story, kind of like the Celestine Prophecy or the Celestine Prophecy that I read for my meditation channel, Peterisms. It's not like that. Like, it's not meant to be this highly motivational, inspirational book, but it is. It's literally a book of fiction. It's literary fiction, and it is so beautifully told. It is so beautifully written. Matt Haig is just such an incredible writer, and so that was one thing. I just was so taken by the beauty of the language in the book. It's just absolutely so beautifully written, and I don't know, I related to Nora Seed, who's like the main character, so much in it. And through all these lives that she lives, she learns so many different things about herself. And like the book starts with her reading this book of regrets, where she basically looks at all of the regrets that she's had in her life. You know, which is an interesting concept, because I think people say don't live with regrets, you shouldn't have regrets. But I don't know about everybody else, but I am somebody that has had regrets in my life, many regrets, you know, and I think as we go through life, just they can be small regrets or big regrets or whatever, you know. And so I don't know, I was just so profoundly affected by this book. And the book is really about, well, first of all, it's so well researched because there's so much like philosophy in it. Like Thoreau is like referenced a lot in the book, in Star Trek and things like that. There's so many Henry David Thoreau quotes in the book, and there's a lot of like talking about the philosophy of like Jean-Paul Sartre and things like that. And I just is it Sartre or Sartre? I don't ever know. I think it's Sartre, right? But anyway, and like in a way that it's kind of dumbed down so you understand it. And it's really about perspective of how we look at our lives, you know? And we look at our lives through these glasses of kind of like what we don't have or what we haven't done, instead of being appreciative and being grateful for what we do have and what we do have in our lives, you know, or that we have the power to affect the outcomes of our own lives. That it often we think we don't, but in reality, we really do, you know, that we're the ones that affect these outcomes, these possibilities. And truly, what does it mean to be happy living? Like, if you ask yourself, are you happy? Are you happy in the life that you're living? Why aren't you happy in the life that you're, I mean, it poses all of these fantastic questions. And, it is hands down one of the best books I have ever read in my life. In my life, it is one of the best books I have ever read. And I just was so completely floored by it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars across the board. Well, I ranked it on Audible for like the performance. It's by Carey Mulligan, who is the narrator, and she does such a fantastic job. And so many people, you know, I was thinking about this, like, because the book talks a lot about, like, chance encounters and things that happen that, you know, it's just like, you know, like, there's a quote in the book. It's something about, like, never underestimate the power of small things. And, you know, me starting my BookTube channel isn't a small thing, but it's been a huge thing in my life the last couple years. But I was thinking about this as I was, like, listening to it tonight, you know, that had I never started my BookTube channel, well, first of all, like, all of the books that I've been recommended, all the people that I've met, all the interactions I've had with you guys, and all that stuff, I never would have had that, you know, had I not started my BookTube channel, this thing that I was absolutely terrified to start, you know. And I look back and, like, the blockage of me starting it was that I was afraid of people's, you know, perception of my weight, because I had always let my weight stand in the way of me accomplishing things I wanted to accomplish in my life. And I'm so happy that I started it, you know. And then I was thinking about, like, all of the books that I have read as a result of being on BookTube that I would never have read otherwise. Like, you know, I think about Dumplin' by Julie Murphy, which is one of my favorite books, or The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, which I never would have read, probably. I mean, maybe, because I'd seen the movie, or heard of the movie, if, like, you know, I hadn't been on BookTube. But definitely The Midnight Library. I don't believe this is a book that I would have picked up had people not recommended this to me, you know? And it's kind of cool now because people are responding to, like, my BookTube channel and my vlog and saying, oh, I'm going to go get The Midnight Library now. And, like, people were tweeting me that today, like, I'm going to read it today, you know? And, like, that's cool. It's just like, you know, like, you guys tell me books that you like, and then I read it and I tell other people. It's like we pass it on, right? And I never would have known about this book that really has made me so grateful for the life that I have, which, I mean, I'm already grateful for the life that I have, but it made me look at it in a completely different way. And I just, you know, I'm just sitting here listening to this tonight, and I'm, like, feeling so peaceful and so serene. And I'm like, you know, there's a saying that I like, and the saying is, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And I was drinking a LaCroix limoncello, but I'm almost out of it. But there's a saying that says, you know, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And I love that saying. And listening to the book in tonight, I thought to myself, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be in my life, you know? Maybe I'm not the best at the things that I wish I was best at. Maybe, you know, everything in my life isn't exactly how I want it to look. But I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be tonight. And I'm really okay with that. Like, I'm really happy with that. You know, this book gave me so much hope just for my life and the things that I want to accomplish in my life. I think it's such a great book for people that are kind of, like, down on themselves and feeling like lacking hope or feeling hopeless in their lives. I think it's such a fantastic book for that. I mean, it's a book full of hope, right? And it's about this woman that, like, she has all these different things in her life that she's thought about herself, or the way that she's looked at herself, or the way that she's looked at things that have happened in her life. And it's really her kind of, like, reevaluating it as she goes through these different lives. And also realizing the impact that she has had on other people and other people's lives, you know? It's just really, really, I don't know, it's just such a beautiful, beautiful book. And it was honestly, like, I was talking about this, I think, in my Peterisms video that I did earlier today. It was like also like exactly the book that I needed to read right now. You know, do you ever feel like that when you're reading? It's like, this is the book that I needed to read exactly at this moment. Like, this was the book that I needed to read exactly at this moment. It so, like, resonates with where I'm at in the universe and where I'm at in my own thinking in the world. You know, it confirmed for me this idea of putting one foot in front of the other and the power of gratitude. And also, I think, because it talks a lot about perception, there's a lot of different quotes about perception and how you, like, there's a Thoreau quote, it's not what you're looking at, but it's what you see, which I think is so interesting. You know, it's like, if you think about that with life, it's not like what you're looking, like in any situation, it's not really how you're looking at it or what you're looking at, it's really what you are choosing to see when you're looking at a situation and how you choose to perceive that to yourself. But maybe somebody else's perception of something, or maybe your own perception from a different point of view. It's like the movie Dead Poets Society, you know, when Robin Williams has all of the students get on top of the desks and look at the class from a different point of view, you know? It's like when you have a paradigm shift and you look at your life in a completely different way, super, super powerful, you know? And it's like, wow, I had never seen it that way, you know? And it's like, in watching all of those aha moments on Oprah through the years, like, that's literally what happened to people in those moments, was where they were like, you know, I can remember watching this one Oprah aha moment with Dr. Phil, and there was a woman on there whose daughter had been killed, murdered, and she had kept her room like exactly the same for like 20 years or something like that. And he looked at her and he said, like, she wouldn't move or change anything. She couldn't do anything. She was stuck in time. And he looked at her and he said, what would she say if she was here today about the fact that you hadn't changed her room or anything? Like, she had the dolls set up and she had been in like pageants at tiaras and stuff. And she said, oh, she'd be very, very upset with me. And he looked at her and he said, do you think that it's something to this degree, and the video's on YouTube, you can find it, but he said, do you think that you could, instead of looking at the one day that she died, instead celebrate the 18 years that she was alive? And she turns and she looks at him, and it's that moment of that perspective changing of how you looked at something, that paradigm shift, when she looks at him, this look of total awe on her face, and she says, I never had thought about it that, I never had thought of it that way. I never really had thought of it that way, you know? And she said, she had come there, she said she'd come there to share her story about what had happened to her daughter, and then she was gonna go home and she was gonna take her life, and she said, she's like, then I'm gonna get like real emotional thinking about this, but she says, but I don't have to do that anymore, you know? She says, because now I can like live. And it's just like this total moment of change where she sees that the whole way that she's been looking at something for 20 years was completely different, just because one person changed her perspective. And that's what this whole book is about. How we look at our lives and how we look at, you know, everything in our lives, the people in our lives, the things that happen to us when we're little and young, and the things that happen to us now, and the things that happened to us just yesterday, the small things, the big things, all of it, and how they all impact each other, you know? So I'm very, very grateful that I read this book, and I can't remember who recommended it to me, M, I think, or D. Anyway, congratulations. No, thank you for sharing this book with me, whoever did. I'm so incredibly thankful. There was actually a couple people I think that had, but I'm so incredibly thankful for that one video that I did that somebody commented on there, you should read The Midnight Library. And now I'm going to pick another audiobook to listen to. I think I'm going to listen to A Cozy Mystery now, but thank you. I'm just so incredibly, I feel so incredibly blessed that I read this book. And it's very, I mean, I'll read a lot of books and I'm like, oh, this was a good book, or this book was fun to read, or whatever. But it's very rare that I feel like blessed that I got to read a book. So I would highly, highly recommend this to anybody out there. I can tell you that. I only hope for you that it had such a profound effect. I hope it has a profound effect on you the way that it had on me, because I absolutely loved it. And people are telling me that Matt Haig's other books are just as good, so I'm going to try those as well. So anyway, thank you to whoever recommended the book to me. Please try and read The Midnight Library. I hope that you will like it as much as I did. And I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.